Love. Every civilization has its own definition of happiness. At the Intergalactic Love Untangling Center, we understand the challenges in your journey to find your own happiness, and don't be shy, don't hide it, bring them here. In the dictionaries of countless civilizations, it is defined as an intense emotional state, a deep connection between two individuals. But beyond the scope of a planet, at the intergalactic level, that definition seems too simple. Love can be anything. And where there is love, there is trouble.
To solve these diverse troubles, an organization was born, with a name that says it all, the Intergalactic Love Untangling Center. Located on the planet Lumina, a bustling hub of commerce and culture, famous for its cities of light and advanced technology, the center is a skyscraper, with minimalist yet impressive architecture. The transparent glass walls reflect the light of the stars, the design lines are soft yet sharp, and an ecological garden hangs in mid-air, creating a space that is both modern and close to nature. The cold white light from the LED lights on the ceiling shone down on consulting room number 3, highlighting its artistic mess. Books, documents, fast food containers, and bizarre souvenirs from across the galaxies were piled on the table, on the chairs, and even on the floor. In the middle of that mess, Carter, a love consultant at the Intergalactic Love Untangling Center, was sitting on an expensive ergonomic chair, but his posture was anything but ergonomic. Carter is a consultant at the center, a young man with a dashing appearance, completely contrasting with his bald head. He has brown eyes that exude intelligence, and a meticulously tailored suit that fits his balanced physique. Every detail on Carter's outfit exuded professionalism, from the neatly tied tie, the polished leather shoes, to the sophisticated wristwatch. With this look, one could easily imagine Carter on a fashion runway, or in an important business meeting, rather than in a chaotic intergalactic love counseling center. Carter glanced at the hologram screen, which displayed the interface of an intergalactic dating website. Today's candidate was a Zidonian girl with 3 jade green eyes and 6 tentacles. Carter shrugged, muttering, "She's alright, I guess, but I wonder if she likes watching Netflix on weekends?" He quickly swiped left and moved on to another profile, a Blargan warrior with metallic skin and bulging muscles. A bit too much for me, Carter thought, then swiped left again. Bored with searching for an extraterrestrial other half, Carter switched to playing games. On the screen, a spaceship, controlled by Carter, was speeding through space, dodging asteroids and shooting down bizarre monsters. But, after just a few minutes of combat, Carter felt sleepy. Even saving the world can't get me excited, he mocked himself. Carter reached for a box of Pilot Bites on the table. The box was transparent, cylindrical, revealing colorful gummy candies inside. The candies were meticulously shaped, simulating planets and stars. On the body of the box, the words Pilot Bites were printed prominently, along with the slogan, "Join us in conquering the stars." Carter opened the box and picked out an Earth-shaped candy, a small blue sphere with faint white streaks. He looked at the candy for a moment, as if gazing at his home planet from outer space. "I wonder what time it is back home?" He put the candy in his mouth, closed his eyes, and savored it. Its taste was indescribable. A bit of lemon, a bit of strawberry, and a bit of something. Like the taste of space. What the hell am I doing with my life? I studied for years in psychology, sociology, and now I'm the unsung hero of broken hearts across the universe, even though sometimes they have a few too many tentacles, and their tears can corrode my skin in half a second. Too dangerous for a galactic-level socio-psychologist.
Are you sabotaging your body with that food again? Do you think those greasy, shiny fingers will help those old, damaged spaceships take off more smoothly, young man?
Carter jumped, startled, and looked up. Dr. Fungal, the center's expert on extraterrestrial biology, was standing in front of the door, with his familiar waddling gait. He was a Florgan, a species that looked like a walking mushroom, with a large, brown mushroom cap, that was always swaying, and a tangle of roots used for movement. In Dr. Fungal's hand was a glass jar containing a bubbling green liquid, looking like some kind of alien smoothie, Carter wondering what concoction the doctor had brewed today. "Oh. Dr. Fungal," Carter stammered, "Good. Good whatever time of day it is, I'm not sure."
Don't make excuses.
Dr. Fungal interrupted.
You should know that love is like a jet engine, it needs to be lubricated regularly. But not with sugar, Carter.
He began to mumble about some complex chemical formula related to the interaction of Florgan pheromones. Just then, like a passing breeze, Vex appeared. This nocturne girl always had a special ability, to appear and disappear like a ghost. Vex's dark purple skin almost blended into the darkness of the hallway, only her intricately braided blue hair and golden snake eyes shone in the dim light. Her long, powerful tail, which, as Carter described it, moved in a lively way, sometimes coiling like a snake, sometimes stretching out like a whip, creating a silent, mesmerizing dance. Vex wore a black, form-fitting suit with glowing blue trim, accentuating curves that would make anyone looking at her hold their breath.
"We have a client,"
Vex said, her voice cold and emotionless. Carter was startled, almost dropping the box of Pilot Bites. He quickly closed the lid, put it back on the table, and tried to straighten his posture to look presentable, but accidentally knocked over the Pilot Bites box on the table. Vex glanced, a slight smirk forming, a smile that Carter considered deadly charming.
"Careful,"
she said, then turned and walked away, her tail swaying gently with each step.
"Consulting room number 3.
Vex, who had just reappeared, announced, "Xylus." "Oh, them again," Carter muttered. "Last time they almost blew up the consulting room. I wonder what they'll do this time." He stood up, adjusted his clothes, took a deep breath, and told himself, "All right, the show must go on. I hope I don't get fired today." Carter nodded, walking towards the door marked with the number 3. The door slid open, revealing a space completely different from his cramped office. The room was spacious, bright, with white walls and a floor made of some material that sparkled like diamonds. In the middle of the room was a round platform, which seemed to be able to rotate, and on the ceiling was a huge hologram screen, currently displaying the words Xylus, basic information in a squiggly language that Carter couldn't decipher. Carter looked around the room, searching for familiar amenities. The room was equipped with ergonomically shaped chairs, which seemed to be able to automatically adjust to any body shape. In one corner of the room, he saw a relaxation area with a mini fountain, emitting soft rippling sounds. At least they know how to create a relaxing space, Carter thought to himself. On a low table, made of transparent material, was a plate of energy crystals. The candies were shaped like crystals, with various colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And each color sparkled differently. Carter wondered what they tasted like. Just then, the door opened again, and 2 creatures entered. Carter tried to keep his face from showing any emotion, but inside, he was screaming. They were Uni and Duo, a Xylus couple. Basically, they looked human. They also had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. But, of course, there were a few differences. Their skin was green, with different shades, forming strange patterns on their bodies. They had no hair. Instead, they had something like soft tentacles, dangling on their heads. Their eyes were large, round, and completely black, without pupils, looking like 2 black holes in space. Uni and Duo wore thin, tight-fitting armor, but not made of metal or plastic, but from a type of biomaterial capable of self-healing and changing shape. The armor was the characteristic green color of the Xylus, but had different patterns. Uni had leaf-shaped patterns, while Duo had flower-shaped patterns. Carter tried to remember what he had read about the Xylus. Asexual reproduction. Resonant emotions. Those concepts flashed through his mind, but they didn't help much in the current situation. The consulting room door opened, and Carter tried to maintain a professional smile. Entering the room were not just 2 people, as Carter had anticipated, but a group of 5 identical creatures, all with green skin, no hair, and deep black eyes. "Hello, Uni," Duo, and other versions of Uni and Duo, Carter said, trying to keep his voice from trembling. He glanced quickly at Vex, hoping to find a bit of sympathy, but the Nocturne girl maintained her cold expression, as if watching a documentary. It seems a bit crowded today, doesn't it? He chuckled awkwardly, trying to break the tense atmosphere. But Carter's smile quickly faded when Uni, or at least one of the Unis, spoke, her voice full of anger and disappointment.
He loves this clone of me more than me.
Uni pointed at one of her clones, a creature identical to Uni, from the green skin to the patterns on her body. Carter felt like he had just been thrown into a mind-bending sci-fi movie. Wait, he tried to interject, let's calm down. Can you explain slowly? But Uni cut him off.
He's not the duo I love anymore.
Uni's voice trembled, as if she was about to cry. Carter hadn't even recovered from Uni's sudden accusation when another voice, identical to Uni's, rang out, but somewhat softer.
Wait, Uni. I don't understand. What's wrong with Duo loving me more? I'm also you.
It was Uni 2, the clone of Uni that Uni was jealous of. Uni 2 was standing next to one of Duo's clones, let's call him Duo 1. Duo 1 was affectionately embracing Uni 2, his eyes unable to hide his infatuation. Carter felt like he was lost in a maze. He tried to keep his voice from shaking. Let me see if I understand correctly. Uni, you're jealous of yourself, because Duo loves another version of you?
That's right. She's an imposter. She's not me. She stole Duo's love.
Uni 2.
I didn't steal anyone. Duo willingly loves me. Because I'm more perfect than you.
Hearing this, Uni seemed unable to contain herself any longer.
Stop talking, you wretched replica.
Carter's jaw dropped. He never thought he would hear such a creative insult. Vex, standing nearby, smirked slightly, but Carter wasn't sure if it was a smile or not. Uni 2, after a moment of stunned silence, started crying. Green tears rolled down her cheeks.
You dare to say that to me?
Uni 2 sobbed.
I just want to be loved.
And then, like a chain reaction, all the other clones of Uni and Duo began to comfort Uni 2. They patted her, hugged her, and said comforting words in a babbling language that Carter couldn't understand. Carter looked at the scene before him, feeling completely helpless. He turned to Vex, pleading, Vex, can you turn them off? Vex shrugged.
They're not violating the center's rules. Just a bit noisy.
Carter sighed. Today, he would probably need a whole barrel of energy coffee, not just a double dose. Come on, calm down, Carter said, trying to overcome the noise of the Xylus couple and their clones. He raised his hands, a futile attempt to stop the escalating argument, but he looked like a conductor trying to control a broken symphony orchestra. We're in a counseling center, Carter tried to continue, not an alien marketplace. Please. Can you cooperate a little? But Carter's words were like water off a duck's back. Uni, Duo, and their clones continued to argue, even louder than before. They spoke simultaneously, interrupting each other, creating a chaotic mess of sounds that Carter couldn't understand.
Your quantum fluctuations have changed.
One of the Unis yelled.
No, your love is an unsolvable function.
One of the Duos retorted. Self-referential paradox. Self-referential paradox. Another clone mumbled, seemingly talking to himself. Carter felt like his head was about to explode. He rubbed his forehead, his face, trying not to lose it. What am I going to do? Carter took a deep breath, trying to regain his composure. He looked around the room, searching for something that could help him control the situation. But, of course, there was nothing. There was no loudspeaker, no language translator, and no mute button for aliens. I'm the expert here, Carter said, trying to keep his voice serious, and I'm asking you to be quiet. He slammed his hand on the table. Carter sighed, feeling completely helpless. He leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes, and wished he could teleport to somewhere quieter. Carter closed his eyes, trying to shut out the chaotic sounds and bizarre images that surrounded him. I need a miracle, he thought, a real miracle. And then, as if in answer to Carter's prayer, a sudden change occurred in the room. The space around Carter darkened, not like the sudden turning off of lights, but a living darkness, slowly spreading out from one point, from Vex. The nocturne girl was still standing in the same place, arms crossed over her chest, but her golden snake eyes seemed to be glowing, and the darkness slowly enveloped the room, like a thick black mist. Carter could feel a powerful, cold, but not terrifying, energy emanating from Vex. What's going on? Carter's mouth gaped open, but he didn't dare utter a word. He was afraid that even the slightest sound could break the miracle that was happening. The Uni and Duo clones, who were engaged in a heated argument, suddenly fell silent. The darkness, as if conscious, seeped between them, separating them. Each clone was enclosed in a pitch-black bubble, floating in mid-air, or stuck to the walls, floor, and ceiling by soft but firm bands of darkness. Only Uni, Duo, and Uni 2 remained in the middle of the room, under the lights, which now seemed considerably weaker. But they were also unable to move freely. Thin bands of darkness, like threads, wrapped around their legs, keeping them stationary. Carter looked at Vex, his eyes filled with astonishment and admiration. "Wow," he exclaimed, unable to hide his admiration. Vex didn't answer. She approached Carter, slowly and gracefully. Her cold, snake-like eyes looked directly into Carter's, making him feel a little shiver. Then, a slight smile curled up on the corner of Vex's lips, a mysterious, unpredictable smile, but with a strange allure.
"You owe me a round of pilot bites,"
Vex said, her voice low and husky, but with a hint of playfulness. Carter swallowed, nodding vigorously. You're my savior." Vex shrugged, then turned back to the three Xylus who were standing dumbfounded in the middle of the room. The darkness around them began to fade, but was still enough to keep them stationary. Carter took a deep breath, trying to regain his professionalism. He cleared his throat and said, "Okay, it seems like the situation has calmed down a bit. Thank you, Vex." Carter turned to Uni, Duo, and Uni 2, continuing, "So, let's resolve this slowly. First of all, let me ask, which of you three is Uni, who is Duo, and who is the clone?" Carter cleared his throat, trying to regain his composure. He looked at Uni, Duo, and Uni 2, three Xylus creatures standing before him, each with a different look, but all sharing the common trait of being troublesome. "All right," Carter said, "now, let's talk calmly and privately. One at a time." He turned to Vex, slightly hesitant. "Vex, could you help me keep the remaining clones? To avoid noise, that is." Vex didn't say anything, just nodded slightly. She raised her hand, and the dark bubbles imprisoning the Uni and Duo clones trembled, as if wanting to protest. But then, they all fell silent, perhaps out of fear, or respect for Vex's power. Carter breathed a sigh of relief. He turned back to Uni, trying to offer a friendly smile. "Uni," he said, "can you tell me what made you unhappy with Duo?" Uni looked at Duo with eyes full of anger, then at Uni 2 with disdain.
She's an imposter.
Uni said, her voice trembling.
"She's not me. She stole Duo's love from me."
Carter tried to take notes on what Uni was saying, but the pen in his hand trembled, and the words became scribbled like a 3-year-old's. "Stole love?" He muttered, "How can someone steal someone else's love? Is love some kind of commodity?" Carter turned to Duo, hoping to find a more understandable answer. "And Duo," he said, "can you tell me why you changed your feelings?" Duo looked at Uni 2 affectionately, then at Uni with a somewhat guilty expression.
I don't know.
Duo said.
Uni too. He has something that Uni doesn't have. A kind of emotion. A connection. That I've never experienced before. He makes me feel alive.
Carter felt like he was listening to a lecture on alien love philosophy. New emotions. Connection never experienced, he muttered, sounds like a perfume commercial, doesn't it? Finally, Carter turned to Uni 2, hoping to find a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. And you, Uni 2, he said, can you tell me how you feel about this? Uni 2 looked at Carter, her expression calm, as if contemplating a profound philosophical problem.
Love is a form of energy. It can change shape, but it never disappears. We are all pieces of a larger puzzle. And sometimes, the pieces don't fit together.
Carter rubbed his forehead, feeling like he had just gone through mental torture. He looked at Uni, Duo, and Uni 2, then back at Vex, who was still standing with her arms crossed, with an expression as cold as ice. Suddenly, Dr. Fungal appeared from within the wall. He stepped out calmly, as if walking through walls was a perfectly normal thing to do. He bumped into one of the dark bubbles that Vex had created to imprison the Xylus clones. Dr. Fungal's mushroom cap swayed violently. In Dr. Fungal's hand was an ancient, leather-bound, thick book with squiggly Xylus writing. Vex, Dr. Fungal said.
Could you please turn off this thing? I have very important information to share with everyone. It concerns the ancient law of the Xylus.
Understood, Dr. Fungal.
Vex flicked her wrist, a sound so small it was almost inaudible in the chaos. But immediately, the dark bubbles imprisoning the Xylus clones vanished like soap bubbles, freeing the confused green creatures.
In the Chronicles of Xylus Love, Volume 42, Chapter 3, Section 7, it is clearly stated, if a clone causes instability to the prime subject, the prime subject has the right to reabsorb that clone. If desired, they can erase that clone permanently. Dr. Fungal turned to Uni 2, his voice becoming stern. Are you aware that actions that negatively affect your prime subject, specifically Uni in this case, are strictly forbidden under the ancient law of the Xylus, young lady?
Uni 2, who just a few minutes ago seemed calm and philosophical, now trembled, bowing her head, not daring to say anything. Carter's jaw dropped. Reabsorb? Erase, he stammered, do you mean?
That's right, Carter.
Dr. Fungal said, his voice sounding disturbingly casual.
Uni has full authority over Uni 2's fate. He can choose to merge Uni 2 back into himself, or erase him completely.
The atmosphere in the consulting room became extremely tense. All eyes were on Uni, awaiting her decision. Uni closed her eyes tightly, her hands clenched, as if trying to find the answer in a tangled mess of emotions.
What am I going to do?
Uni muttered, her voice trembling.
I can't erase Uni 2. She's also a part of me. But Duo. I can't lose Duo.
A few seconds passed, as long as an eternity. Then, Uni suddenly opened her eyes, looking directly at Uni 2, her gaze no longer hesitant.
I don't want to erase her.
Uni said, her voice slightly choked.
Maybe she can help me. Maybe she can tell me where I went wrong.
Uni turned to Duo.
Duo, do you agree? If Uni 2 could you tell me why Duo loves you more than me? What did you do to get his love?
Uni 2, after a moment of surprise, smiled slightly.
Me? I didn't do anything.
Uni 2 said.
I'm just me.
Carter felt like he couldn't breathe, he really didn't understand what the hell was going on. Duo, after a moment of silence, suddenly spoke. He walked over to Uni, gently touching her hand. Uni, Duo said, his voice warm, but with a hint of firmness.
You know, I still love you. But you have to change. You have to become the Uni I once loved again.
Uni looked at Duo, her eyes showing a glimmer of hope.
You mean it?
Duo nodded.
I mean it. But you have to show me that change. You have to prove to me that you deserve my love.
Then, Duo turned to his clones, and Uni's clones as well.
We are one, no matter how many versions there are. We can find happiness together.
Duo's clones, after a moment of hesitation, nodded in unison. Uni's clones, seemingly infected by this spirit of reconciliation, also began to nod. And so, quickly and unexpectedly, the consultation ended. Uni, Duo, Uni 2, and all their clones, a green crowd, left the consulting room together. Carter turned to Vex, trying to find a bit of sympathy, but the Nocturne girl maintained her cold expression, as if everything that had just happened was nothing surprising. Do you understand what just happened, Vex? Carter asked, his voice full of confusion. Vex, standing beside Carter, spoke softly.
Xylus, love, is more complicated than we thought. I think you should see Mr. Xylus out to the door, and clean up a bit.
He nodded to Vex, then quickly slipped past her, walking briskly towards the door. As he walked, he tried to straighten his clothes. When he reached Duo, he stopped, hesitated for a moment, and then placed his hand on the Xylus's shoulder. He patted it twice, a familiar human gesture of comfort. Duo, Carter said, his voice a little hesitant, I hope things work out for you. And for Uni too. Then, as if afraid Duo wouldn't understand, Carter patted the Xylus's shoulder one more time, so hard that one of the tentacles on Duo's head fell to the floor. On my planet, trees can sing into flowers, and flowers can sleep into trees. We call it the circle of life. But we still plant trees to build houses and plant flowers for decoration. Sometimes that's also a form of happiness, isn't it, young man? The Mr. Xylus picked up the fallen tentacle, calmly stuck it back on his head. He tilted his head up proudly and walked away haughtily. Carter breathed a sigh of relief, as if he had just shed 1,000-pound burden. He turned to Vex, intending to thank her, but the Nocturne girl quickly cut him off.
You still owe me a round of pilot bites.
Vex said. At the same time, her long tail, like a black, shiny arrow, slowly curled up, pointing directly at Carter. Carter was slightly startled, but quickly regained his composure. Oh, right, he said, I didn't forget. Tonight? Just then, Carter's personal communication device rang. He hurriedly took it out, hoping to escape Vex's gaze. The screen displayed a message from a stranger, with the name Cosmic Empress. The message was short, but intriguing.
Hello, Carter. I saw your profile on Galactic Date, and I'm very impressed. Would you like to meet me tonight? I know a place with the most amazing quantum soup.
Carter swallowed. Quantum soup? That sounds interesting. He glanced at Vex, then back at the message, hesitating.
What is it?
Vex asked, her voice still cold, but with a hint of curiosity. Carter tried to act calm. Oh, nothing, he said, just a spam message. He quickly turned off the screen, but his heart was racing. He accidentally reopened his Galactic Date app while scanning through the messages. I'm sorry, Vex, Carter said, but tonight, I'm busy. Can we postpone the pilot bites to another day? Vex looked at Carter, saying nothing. Carter felt like he was being frozen under her gaze.
Reason?
Vex asked, her voice still even, but with a hint of
coldness. Carter stammered. Well, I have a meeting, an urgent meeting with a client who flew in from very far away.
Vex raised an eyebrow, again.
Are you sure you're not lying to me?
Carter quickly waved his hands. No, of course not. I'm just very sorry. Can we do it another day, please? Vex was silent for a moment, then nodded slightly. Suit yourself, she said, then turned and walked away. Carter breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't know why he had to lie to Vex, but he felt that if he told the truth, things would be even more complicated. Carter followed Vex's silhouette until she disappeared behind the door. Then, he turned back, opened the message from the Cosmic Empress, and began to daydream about an interesting evening. He accidentally reopened his galactic match screen while browsing through messages. Vex was standing next to him and saw it, but the screen at that moment showed Vex's profile. Carter quickly swiped past, accompanied by a confident statement. "She's a bit special, but I have my standards." Just then, Drive Fungal appeared from nowhere.
"Carter, have you seen my tentacle anywhere?" "Huh, what tentacle?" "The tentacle I use to stir solutions, or have you cleaned up too thoroughly again?"
Carter sighed wearily. Today was indeed a long day. Carter's room was brightly lit under the hologram lights. Upbeat music played, creating an energetic atmosphere. Amidst the chaos of clothes and accessories, Carter spun around in front of the full-length mirror, admiring himself. "Fantastic. I can't believe I can be this handsome," he muttered, running a hand over his bald head. "The Cosmic Empress will definitely be swept off her feet." He frowned, took off the sparkling purple jumpsuit, and replaced it with a shiny black suit, adorned with badges and chains. "Maybe this will be more elegant," he said, then frowned again, "but it's a bit old-fashioned, isn't it?" He tried on a few more outfits, each with a bizarre style, from a sparkling astronaut suit to a kimono printed with fire dragons. Finally, he decided to choose a jade green suit, with a bright yellow bow tie and shiny leather shoes. "Perfect," he exclaimed, looking at himself in the mirror. "I can't believe I have such great taste." He began to imagine a romantic evening with the Cosmic Empress, envisioning kisses under the moonlight, exciting romantic adventures. "I'll show her what a classy man is like," he told himself. A slight worry passed, but he quickly dispelled it. "I deserve beautiful and powerful women." Carter's personal communication device rang, displaying a call from Vex. He frowned, hesitated for a moment, and then answered. "What is it?" he asked, his tone somewhat annoyed.
"I just wanted to remind you about the pilot bite date,"
Vex said, her tone as cold as ice. "Oh. I'm sorry," Carter stammered. "I have an emergency meeting with a client from the Xylo planet."
"A client from Xylo?"
Vex asked, her tone full of doubt.
"I don't see your name on the schedule."
"Well, it's an unexpected meeting," Carter said, his tone somewhat awkward. "They called me a few minutes ago."
"I hope your meeting goes well, socio-psychologist Carter,"
Vex said, her tone sarcastic, then hung up. Carter breathed a sigh of relief, wiping the sweat from his forehead. "Next time I have to come up with a more convincing reason," he muttered. He looked at the clock, realizing it was time for the appointment. He quickly checked his appearance again, sprayed on some more cologne, and then left the room. The Night Star restaurant was located on a floating space station, with a bizarre architecture. Neon lights sparkled on the ceiling, creating a magical glow. The tables were made of transparent glass, suspended in mid-air, giving the feeling of dining among the stars. Carter entered the restaurant, feeling overwhelmed by its luxurious beauty. He walked to the reception desk, gave his name, and was led to a transparent sofa table, suspended in the corner of the room, with a stunning view of the cosmos. He sat down, ordered a blue galaxy cocktail, and began to look around. He felt nervous and expectant, wondering what the Cosmic Empress would look like. The restaurant walls were made of a transparent material, capable of changing color and opacity depending on the light and viewing angle. The pillars were carved with strange patterns, combining complex geometry and mythical creatures. The ceiling was a giant dome, simulating the night sky with thousands of twinkling stars. The space inside the restaurant was divided into several different areas, each designed in a distinctive architectural style of an alien civilization. There was an area with the minimalist style of the Zidonians, with straight lines and neutral colors. There was an area with the elaborate style of the Florgans, with floral patterns and bright colors. The elevator door slid open, a blue light shining on the figure of a goddess. The Cosmic Empress stepped out, her metallic space suit hugging her deadly curves, accentuating her tiny waist and shapely hips. The special fabric reflected the light, creating a sparkling effect like falling stars, making it impossible to look away. Her long, slender legs were showcased in the tight-fitting fabric.
Carter, have you been waiting long?
Her voice rang out, sweet as honey, but with an undeniable air of pride. They began to chat, and Carter was quickly captivated by her interesting stories. She told him about her adventures, about the strange planets she had visited, and about her special friends. Carter felt he needed more Blue Galaxy to continue the conversation. The food of the date was also very good, but perhaps he needed another piece of coffee bite to save his suit. Nightstar seemed to want to keep him, and there was something, perhaps only high-level socio-psychologists with Galactic Date premium accounts could understand. And from one Blue Galaxy to another, quite coincidentally, our Cosmic Empress also ordered Blue Galaxy like Carter, and it seemed she liked it too. Wow, I didn't think I'd like Blue Galaxy the same as you, Carter. In a moment, the Cosmic Empress stood up, leaning both hands on the huge glass balcony, gazing at the vast cosmic landscape. Looking at the universe from here is amazing, she said, her voice enchanting. I like to look at the universe from above, Carter. And in Carter's dreamy state, the Cosmic Empress took a galactic class fall into his arms.
Don't get drunk,
she whispered.
My friends just texted me, they're nearby, they'll be over. You won't feel overwhelmed, will you?
Eye contact, Blue Galaxy spread in their nasal cavities, sweet words like honey poured into the ears, soaring and warm. Carter smiled confidently. A pilot not being healthy enough to operate is already a legend. In this Lumina year 200, a classy pilot like me, controlling multiple spaceships at once with the mission of exploring new stars, is nothing strange. Don't worry, I can handle it. And from the sliding elevator door, 3 charming figures stepped in. They were the Cosmic Empress's friends, each with a distinct beauty and style. One girl with fiery red hair, a tight-fitting leopard print dress, and sharp green eyes. One girl with jade green skin, a flowing white silk dress, and sparkling golden eyes. And one girl with jet black hair, a high-tech, form-fitting suit, and mysterious violet eyes. They approached Carter's table, smiling seductively, and raised their Blue Galaxy glasses together. The atmosphere in the room became lively and exciting. Jokes, flattery, and meaningful glances. Carter felt like he was lost in a wild dream. The girl in the pure white silk dress leaned slightly. Suddenly, she planted a light kiss on his cheek.
Today is Lady Night at Nightstar.
The waiter approached, smiling.
If you have a table of 3 or more ladies, press the button next to the table and shout Nightstar together. There will be a special gift from the restaurant.
Carter looked at the beautiful girls, then at the waiter, smiling confidently. Certainly, he said, then press the button. A stream of white light engulfed the table, and they felt themselves being lifted. Not to a higher floor, but to a completely separate room, suspended in mid-air, a small island in the ocean of light. You know, when you're up here, wild dreams on that transparent sofa are nothing. The strong and fast rhythm makes it impossible to stop dancing. Soft leather pillows and warm feather blankets were arranged on the sofa, creating a comfortable and luxurious space. Neon strips curved along the soft curves of the ceiling and walls, creating a shimmering, magical space. Blue and bright red laser beams cut through the space. Blue Galaxy sparkled like jade, reflecting the light from the neon strips. Exotic fruit platters and attractive snacks were arranged on the table, creating a lavish feast. Chaos and sparkle enveloped them. Star Carter's performance began to soar, shining brightly, endlessly. Memorable lines were uttered naturally, like love poems written by the young artist and photographs, creating golden moments for Carter's adventure. Suddenly, the music stopped abruptly, and the Cosmic Empress's 3 friends revealed their true colors. They revealed that they were employees of the Galactic Happiness Trading Company. Carter felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at the 3 girls, realizing that they weren't joking. The seductive smiles from earlier had disappeared, replaced by cold and threatening gazes. What? What do you want? Carter asked, his voice trembling.
We want you to transfer all your clients to our company.
The redhead said.
If you cooperate, we will delete all those inappropriate pieces of evidence. Otherwise.
She paused, looking at Carter with a meaningful look.
Otherwise, these photos and videos will spread throughout the intergalactic network.
Carter looked at the photos and videos on the hologram screen. The golden moments from earlier now turned into undeniable evidence. He understood that he was falling into a perfect trap. You're going too far, Carter said, trying to regain his composure. I will never betray my clients. Don't make it difficult for us, Carter, the redhead said.
We don't want to resort to strong measures.
Strong measures? Carter asked, his voice full of doubt. Just then, a beam of blue light flashed in the room. Vex appeared. Vex? Carter exclaimed, surprised. Vex didn't look at Carter, but focused on the three girls.
You leave here now,
She said, her voice full of threat.
or you'll regret it.
Vex smirked, a cold smile flashing in the darkness.
You want strong measures? Fine.
The darkness around thickened, as if thousands of black crows were surrounding the room. The three girls backed away in fear, trying to find an escape, but the darkness had engulfed every corner.
You think you can use these cheap tricks to threaten others?
Vex said, her voice echoing in the darkness.
Do you know, here, what is really to be feared?
The darkness began to move, wrapping around the three girls like invisible ropes. They tried to resist, but it was useless. The darkness tightened.
I'll teach you a lesson.
Vex said.
A lesson about fear.
The darkness began to create strange illusions, terrifying images appearing before the three girls' eyes. They saw their worst nightmares, the deepest fears in their souls. Screams rang out, but were swallowed by the darkness. The three girls knelt, trembling, tears streaming down their faces. They begged Vex for forgiveness, promising never to do anything like that again.
Good.
Vex said.
Remember this lesson. And tell the Galactic Happiness Trading Company never to mess with the Intergalactic Love Untangling Center.
The darkness vanished, revealing the three girls trembling, frightened. They looked at Vex with eyes full of terror. Vex paused for a moment, her gaze sweeping over Carter's jade green suit. Your urgent meeting ended rather quickly, didn't it? Carter blushed, stammering, I just.
You're just too trusting, Carter.
Vex said, cutting him off.
Next time, if you want to lie to me, choose a more convincing reason. And never believe in classy promises online. Especially when it comes from a cosmic empress you've never met.
She looked at Carter for a moment, then sighed.
Alright, anyway, you're out of trouble. But remember, Carter, I won't always be there to save you.
Vex turned and walked away, the darkness disappearing with each step. But her long, slender tail seemed to still be enraged, wagging angrily. It swung up, striking a control panel near Carter. Sparks flew, and a few tiny devices scattered.
Idiot.
She muttered, loud enough for Carter to hear. Then she disappeared into the dark corridor. The early morning sunlight shone through the curved glass window of the Intergalactic Love Untangling Center, creating sparkling streaks of light on the floor. Carter appeared looking neat, his suit pressed and smooth, his hair neatly combed. In his hand was a bag of breakfast, little sun pastries and blue nebula juice, Vex's favorites. He entered Vex's office, placed the bag of food on the table, and smiled brightly. Good morning, Vex. I brought you breakfast. Hot little sun and cold blue nebula, I hope you like it. Vex didn't look up, continuing to bury herself in the files on the table.
Thank you,
she said, her tone as cold as usual. Carter wasn't discouraged. He returned to his desk and began to focus on the pile of files waiting to be processed. He wanted to show Vex that he was a dedicated and professional consultant. Just then, Dr. Fungal appeared, in his usual way, walking through the wall. He was holding a stack of photos, throwing them straight at Carter.
In this lunar year 200, a classy pilot, controlling multiple spaceships at once with the mission of exploring new stars, is nothing strange? Don't worry, I can handle it.
Carter picked up the pictures, his face turning red. Professor, in fact, according to my calculations, I knew it was a trap, he said, trying to remain calm, but with my experience, I was confident I could handle it well. It's just. Vex arrived too early.
According to my clinical research approved by the Galactic Science Ministry, Whether an individual assesses a situation as problematic or not is similar to his choice. The important thing is the result. And when having to assess something, your brain will consume 0.005 lumina of oxygen from this planet, so next time, save oxygen and just call yourself an idiot.
Dr. Fungal's echoing laughter still haunted the room, but Carter quickly regained his professionalism. He smoothed his hair, straightened his suit, and continued to focus on work. All right, let's forget about that, he told himself. I have to prove to Vex and Dr. Fungal that I'm a talented consultant. He began to review the files, analyzing complex problems in intergalactic relationships, and offering creative solutions. He wanted to show that he was not just a fool who was deceived by empty promises. The hologram lights in the consulting room flashed, signaling the next consultation. Carter and Vex glanced at each other, then turned their eyes towards the door. The door slid open, and a magnificent entourage entered, led by a woman of extraordinary beauty. Lyra's skin caused it to glow brilliantly, not just with a soft light, but with tiny streams of light moving under her transparent skin, like a miniature Milky Way. Her multicolored eyes sparkled, capable of changing color according to her emotions, sometimes gentle blue, sometimes mystical violet, sometimes dazzling with the colors of the rainbow, making it impossible for the person opposite to guess what she was thinking. The luminous veins on her arms gracefully flowed like rivers of light, creating magical patterns that changed with her heartbeat. The crystal strip behind her neck sparkled like dancing stars, attracting all eyes. Her ears, besides their unusual shape, were also the place where melodious sounds, gentle tunes, like a love song that captivated the heart. Her ears, instead of the usual human shape, were elongated and pointed at the top, with tiny luminous veins winding inside. On her ears, she wore crescent moon-shaped earrings, made of a liquid metal capable of changing shape. When she moved, the earrings vibrated slightly, emitting sparkling rays, like small stars dancing around her. They emitted melodious sounds, gentle tunes, like a love song that captivated the heart. The combination of those sensual and powerful details created a beauty that was both elegant and magnificent, making many people envious. They secretly thought that they would never have such perfection as Lyra in their entire lives. The universe had been too kind to this princess, but it was not to be blamed, because she was the princess of the Zidonian race, a blooming flower in the vast universe. Welcome, Princess Lyra, to the Intergalactic Love Untangling Center, Carter said, his tone professional. We are honored to help you. Lyra smiled, a smile as radiant as the sun.
Hello.
She said, her voice as clear as a ringing bell.
I came here to find love.
Wonderful, Carter said, so what is your problem? The problem is. Lyra frowned.
I want love in my own way. Every few days I want to change lovers, like changing dishes. But the old-fashioned Zidonian officials keep forcing me to marry someone, and I hate boredom.
Oh, Carter said, so you see having many lovers like changing dishes for breakfast and meals throughout the day?
That's right.
Lyra exclaimed.
Yesterday I liked a Xyler guy with a glowing beard. This morning I fell for a Cygnus robot with a warm voice. Tonight I want to try an Earthling.
She winked at Carter. Vex frowned, looking at Lyra with a puzzled look.
In Zidonia, do you love many people at the same time?
She asked.
Of course.
Lyra said.
Love is for enjoyment, not for confinement. Don't you hear?
Carter chuckled nervously. On Earth, we usually only love one person at a time.
How boring.
Lyra shook her head.
That's like eating the same dish all the time, isn't it?
Lyra's entourage nodded in agreement, a strange mix of formality and rebellion. They represented the astonishing cultural diversity of Zidonia, where every individual was free to express themselves in the most unique way. A man with jade green skin wore a traditional business suit. Another, perhaps a humanoid robot, wore a traditional maid outfit, but with exposed mechanical details, emitting soft clicking sounds. They could wear whatever they wanted, from luxurious outfits to bizarre clothes, but they still fulfilled the role of noble attendants. They could put on any costume they wanted, from lavish extravagant outfits to quirky incomprehensible clothes, but they still excelled in their duties. They still brought fragrant glasses of water, adjusted Lyra's dress, carefully recorded her every word.
And the Zidonian officials?
Vex asked.
They see my love for many people as a disgrace.
Lyra frowned.
They say I'm dishonoring the family and promoting a promiscuous lifestyle.
Promiscuous? Carter frowned.
But you're just expressing your feelings. For them, love is possession, is binding.
Lyra said.
They don't understand that my love is freedom, is discovery. They see my love for many people as a disgrace. They say I am dishonoring the family. They want me to get married.
Carter frowned. So what do you want us to help you with?
I want you to help me prove to them that my love is also worthy of respect.
Lyra said.
And I want them to leave me alone.
Carter gently pulled the adjustment lever, and the consulting chair vibrated slightly, automatically transforming to embrace the unusual body shape of the princess. Princess Lyra, Carter began, his voice warm and professional, in order for us to better understand your situation, please tell us more about the Zidonian culture of love. Lyra closed her eyes slightly, the light patterns on her arms changing color, and then she began to tell stories of strange wedding rituals, where couples exchanged memories instead of wedding rings. She described dating across the galaxy, where space travelers exchanged emotions through quantum poems. Then she mentioned unusual concepts of fidelity, where love is not possession, but a journey of constant discovery.
And what is your relationship with the officials and that prince like?
Vex asked, her voice as sharp as a dagger. Lyra frowned, the crystals behind her neck flickering slightly.
They see my love as a disgrace, a madness. They want me to marry Prince Xerxes, son of the Andromedon family.
She shrugged.
He's not bad, actually he's also favored by the gods like I am. His eyes can analyze the entire light spectrum, and he can calculate the trajectory of an asteroid in just a few seconds. But I just don't like him.
So the problem isn't with Prince Xerxes, but with the fact that you don't want to be forced? Carter asked.
Exactly.
Lyra said.
I don't want an arranged marriage. I want the freedom to choose who I love, who makes me feel excited, who brings me new experiences. I have no intention of living with any guy for the rest of my life.
Wait.
Vex said, her voice cold but thoughtful.
I have an idea.
Carter and Lyra both turned to look at Vex, their eyes curious.
Instead of just talking,
Vex continued.
We'll show them. We'll create a reality show, where we'll play a couple who have been through a diverse dating phase like Lyra.
What do you mean?
Lyra asked.
We'll tell them about our journey of finding love.
Vex said.
About how we were once caught in the whirlwind of fleeting romances, but finally found true love and stability with each other.
But we never, Carter stammered.
That's why we'll act.
Vex interrupted.
We'll create a convincing story, a story that can make them change their minds. And I'll add my scientific analysis.
Dr. Fungal said.
I'll prove to them that love isn't just emotion, it's also science.
Lyra smiled.
I like this idea. It's both bold and interesting.
Great.
Vex said, so let's start planning. This is indeed a complex case, Carter muttered. Zidonian culture is truly different. We need to find a solution that can reconcile both sides.
What their views are is their business.
Vex continued, her cold eyes glancing at Lyra.
They have the right not to like it. But they should respect it, just as they expect to receive respect from others. It's that simple.
Lyra nodded slightly, her eyes shining with a glimmer of hope.
You're right.
She said.
I can't force them to change their minds, but I have the right to ask them to respect my decision.
She stood up, her dress rippling slightly.
So, when will we hold the meeting?
Tomorrow night, Carter said, We need to prepare everything thoroughly. I will contact the Zidonian officials, informing them of the meeting. Vex, you will help me prepare our story. Okay, Vex said.
But remember, we're just acting. Don't go getting any real feelings.
Lyra smiled.
I'm really looking forward to the meeting tomorrow night. I believe that we will find common ground.
She looked at Vex, her eyes full of gratitude. Thank you, Vex. I don't know what I would do without you. Vex nodded slightly. Don't mention it. I'm just doing my job. So, Carter said, standing up, we have a lot of work to do. Lyra, do you need us to take you back?
No need.
Lyra said.
I have my entourage. I'll see you tomorrow.
She smiled, waved goodbye, and then walked out of the consulting room, the entourage following close behind. The door slid shut, leaving Carter and Vex in the quiet space. She winked at Carter, then left the room, leaving him alone with his mixed thoughts. The sunset dyed the Zidonian horizon red, the crystal towers sparkling, reflecting the brilliant light of the end of the day. That night, the fateful meeting between Princess Lyra, the conservative officials, and the special consulting team of the Intergalactic Love Untangling Center had arrived. The last rays of the sun shone through the windows, reflecting on the serious faces, the magnificent costumes, and the expectant eyes of the Zidonian princess and her entourage. The towering hologram walls, carved with intricate patterns, reflected a soft light. On those walls, images of Zidonian culture and history were continuously displayed, creating a space that was both solemn and mystical. The chairs were arranged in a semicircle, creating an open space where everyone could see and hear each other. Soft light from the crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling shone down on the exquisitely carved tables. This space was not just a meeting room, but also a work of art, a harmonious combination of traditional architecture and modern technology. It showed respect for Zidonian culture, while creating a comfortable and formal space for this important dialogue. Leading the consulting team into the meeting room was Dr. Fungal. His confident demeanor shining. Today, he was not wearing his usual white lab coat, but a dark green silk suit, embroidered with strange patterns in gold thread. He carried an electronic board, equipped with love and marriage analysis algorithms invented by him. Carter appeared after that, in a silver gray suit, exquisitely tailored. He adjusted his tie, then smiled confidently, walking over to stand next to Vex. He wanted to show the officials that they were a professional and reliable team, but also no less elegant and classy. He adjusted his tie, then smiled confidently. Vex came up and stood next to him. Tonight, she was wearing a royal evening gown, specially designed for this special event. The jet black silk dress, with bold cuts, accentuated her alluring curves, but still maintained a strong and dignified look. Decorative details made of luminescent liquid metal, sparkling like stars in the night sky, created a beauty that was both mysterious and magnificent. Her cold golden eyes scanned the Zidonian officials who were waiting. Lyra entered the meeting room, wearing her most magnificent dress, her hair meticulously styled, the light patterns on her body more radiant than ever. She stepped forward, smiling brightly.
Welcome everyone to today's meeting. I am Princess Lyra, and I am very pleased to have all of you here.
She looked towards the Zidonian officials.
I would like to introduce, these are the conservative officials of Zidonia. They are people of prestige and experience, always dedicated to the development of our planet.
She pointed to a man with snow-white hair.
This is Mr. Zorvan, Chief Justice of Zidonia.
Then she pointed to a woman with a serious appearance.
This is Lady Talia, Minister of Culture.
She continued to introduce each person one by one, each with an important position in the Zidonian government. Finally, she turned her eyes to the two people sitting in the front row.
And these are my parents, the King and Queen of Zidonia.
They smiled at Lyra, but their eyes still held a hint of worry. They knew that this meeting would decide the future of their daughter, and possibly the future of Zidonia.
Please be seated.
Lyra said.
Let us begin today's conversation.
Greetings, Your Majesty, Queen, esteemed officials of Zidonia.
Vex spoke, her warm voice echoing throughout the meeting room, dispelling the tense atmosphere.
We come here, not only as consultants, but also as people who have experienced the ups and downs of love. We hope that our story will help everyone have a different perspective on love, on the freedom of choice and respect for differences. I used to think love was a game, an endless adventure.
Vex began.
I used to adventure through many planets, meeting lovers from different cultures. Each encounter was a new experience, an interesting discovery.
They created an atmosphere of skepticism about love, making the listener curious about their change. The Zidonian officials began to whisper.
I once loved a merman from the planet Aquatica.
Vex continued.
He had a wonderful voice, able to lull an entire ocean to sleep. I once loved a warrior from the planet Mars. He had extraordinary strength, able to defeat an entire army. I once loved a poet from the planet Venus. He had beautiful verses, able to move even a heart of stone. But then I realized,
she said, her tone becoming more serious.
All those loves didn't bring me true happiness. I felt lonely, empty, as if I was lost in a maze with no exit. And allow me to ask Chief Justice Zorvan and Lady Thalia, with a standard as strict as the Zidonian royal standard, can we find a suitable person for Princess Zidonia, without going through an extremely complex and detailed screening process?
As soon as Vex's voice fell, the whole meeting room fell silent. The eyes of the Zidonian officials were fixed on Chief Justice Zorvan and Lady Thalia, awaiting an answer. The tension in the air was so thick that one could feel it on their skin. Chief Justice Zorvan, with his snow-white hair and sharp eyes, raised an eyebrow slightly. Your question is indeed very interesting, Chief Justice Zorvan said, his deep, husky voice ringing out, breaking the silence. The Zidonian royal standard is not only a rule, but also a responsibility. We cannot risk putting the future of the planet in the hands of an unworthy person. Lady Thalia nodded in agreement.
That's right, madam. We cannot rely solely on emotions to choose a life partner for the princess. We need someone who can shoulder responsibility, who can protect and develop Zidonia. We completely understand that.
Vex said, her tone maintaining its composure.
So let me ask, are Princess Zidonia's feelings included in that screening process?
Vex's question made the whole meeting room silent. All eyes were on Lyra, who had been sitting silently until now. Chief Justice Zorvan and Lady Thalia looked at each other, then turned to look at Lyra. They seemed to be weighing every word, every sentence. The princess's feelings, Chief Justice Zorvan said slowly, are an important factor, but not the deciding factor, Vex said, her tone as sharp as a blade.
If the princess doesn't feel happy, doesn't feel love, then what? Can we call that a successful marriage?
She paused for a moment, looking directly into the eyes of each official, as if wanting to read their hearts.
Emotions and love may not be the deciding factor for pairing.
She continued, her voice becoming stronger and more convincing.
But as a galactic-level love specialist, I would like to assert that it will be the opening and mandatory factor. We cannot open an ancient book and read the first pages if the key does not fit the lock. Love is the same.
The meeting room was filled with absolute silence. Even the breathing of the attendees was almost inaudible. Vex stood tall, her cold golden eyes sweeping across each face, as if challenging them to respond. Lyra sat quietly, her eyes shining with hope. She knew that Vex was fighting for her, trying to change the old-fashioned views that had bound her for so long. Vex said,
Let us work together to find a solution. A solution that can reconcile both the princess's feelings and your responsibilities to Zidonia. A solution that can bring happiness to the princess and prosperity to the planet.
Lady Thalia said, her voice serious but with a hint of concern.
Princess, please tell us, what do you want?
Lyra looked up at Lady Thalia, then looked at her parents, finally stopping at Carter and Vex. She took a deep breath, her voice ringing out, breaking the tense atmosphere in the meeting room.
I want freedom.
She said, her voice steely.
Freedom to experience love, freedom to explore the emotions that I have never known. It is your job to find a way to make it safe, not to accuse me of daring to live true to myself.
Silence enveloped the meeting room. The Zidonian officials stared at Lyra in astonishment, no one daring to speak. They had never seen a princess dare to speak to them in such a tone. The king and queen looked at their daughter, their eyes both surprised and proud. Dr. Fungal spoke up, his booming voice breaking the tense atmosphere. He stepped forward, clutching his electronic board.
I prepared this document in advance, in case it was needed, and indeed, it has come time to put it to use. Article 73, Dr. Fungal said, his voice echoing throughout the meeting room, is in the Royal Family Protection Act, a collection of ancient laws enacted to ensure the safety and ultimate rights of royal family members, especially the princess. According to this law, Princess Idonia has the right to freedom of experience and exploration of life, and the responsibility of the royal family is to protect the safety of the princess and ensure that everything goes smoothly according to the princess's wishes.
We propose a trial process.
Vex said, her golden eyes sweeping across each face.
Princess Lyra will be allowed to experience love, to explore different relationships, under the close supervision of the royal family and the Council of Elders. We will work together to observe, evaluate, and find the person most suitable for the princess.
A trial process? Chief Justice Zorvin asked, his voice full of doubt.
That's right.
Dr. Fungal spoke up.
A systematic, science-based process that can help us assess the suitability of candidates. We will use advanced technologies to analyze their emotions, personalities, and compatibility with the princess.
Lyra said, her voice ringing out with determination.
I accept this proposal. I will prove to everyone that free love is not a rebellion, but a right choice.
They looked at each other, their eyes full of determination. They knew that they were facing a great challenge, but they also knew that they would not be alone. They had Princess Lyra, who dared to stand up for love and freedom. They had the Zidonian royal family, who were trying to find a compromise solution. And they had each other, those who believed that love could change the world. The king of Zidonia spoke.
So everything is clear. The Zidonians have what they have today because we respect and preserve ancient values, traditions that have been passed down for thousands of generations. And I believe that it is those values that will help us overcome all challenges, all difficulties.
He looked towards the officials, his eyes serious but full of trust.
I hope that you will fulfill your responsibilities well, will protect and preserve the noble values of Zidonia. Remember, the safety and happiness of Princess Lyra is also the safety and happiness of our entire planet.
He turned to look at Lyra, his eyes softer.
Daughter, I believe you will make wise choices. Remember that, no matter what you decide, the royal family will always be by your side, supporting you on every path.
Thank you, Father.
Lyra replied, her voice full of emotion.
Very good.
The king said.
Then, let us all have dinner together. I believe that, after this conversation, we all feel hungry.
Everyone stood up, the sound of chairs scraping against the floor echoing in the quiet space. A large door opened, revealing a magnificent dining room, with long tables set with exquisite dishes. The Zidonian officials entered the dining room. Chief Justice Zorvin frowned slightly, as if thinking about the ancient laws that Dr. Fungal had cited. Lady Talia smiled, but her eyes still held a hint of worry, as if fearing the changes to come. A few younger officials whispered to each other, unable to hide their excitement and curiosity about Princess Lyra's love experiment. They were eager to see if the free love stories that Carter and Vex were about to tell could change Zidonia's old-fashioned views. Dr. Fungal brushed past Chief Justice Zorvin, who was deep in thought with a group of other officials. He smiled, his booming voice ringing out.
Can you relax your facial muscles a little? According to my assessment, your facial muscles are 78.3% tenser than the average index of an adult Zidonian. This condition, if prolonged, will lead to a 12.7% decrease in information processing ability, along with a 9.4% increased risk of diseases related to the nervous system. We are building positive things together, let's be happy.
He winked at the group of officials, then walked away, leaving them with awkward smiles. They looked at each other, then towards Lyra, Carter, and Vex, who were chatting happily on the other side of the dining room. They knew that tonight was not just a victory for Lyra. The banquet took place in a formal atmosphere, but whispers still crept between the clinking of glasses. Officials close to the king, those who had spent many years serving the royal family, gathered in small groups, exchanging worried glances. Today, although no one was convicted, a middle-aged official whispered, his voice low.
But we all understand, someone was right, and someone was wrong. And when a person has reached a certain limit of wrong.
Another continued, her eyes looking at Chief Justice Zorvan and Lady Talia.
Whether they are right or wrong is no longer important. The maze that will surround them is their own honor. That's what we should be worried about.
A woman said, her voice trembling.
The honor of a Zidonian official, once tarnished, is not easy to regain. And when their honor is threatened, they will do anything to protect it.
They were silent for a moment, looking at each other with worried eyes. They knew that tonight was not just a conversation, but also a victory for Princess Lyra, an important turning point in Zidonian history. The following workdays passed. Carter was like a cat chasing a mouse, always looking for ways to be closer to Vex. He deliberately asked her for advice on Lyra's candidates, inquired about work, and even suggested having lunch together. Vex maintained a calm attitude, but there was one strange thing, her tail was not like that. Every time Vex passed by Carter, her tail would wag in a suggestive way, even somewhat arrogant and aggressive. It would perk up, vibrate, as if challenging Carter to come closer. One afternoon, when the two were reviewing a candidate's profile together, Carter suddenly spoke up. Vex, lately work has been pretty good, how about we go somewhere to relax? I heard there's a very beautiful island on this planet, the scenery is amazing, how about we explore it together? Vex stopped, looking up at Carter. Her tail was still wagging, but this time, it no longer had a menacing look, but seemed to be fluctuating unpredictably. Go out? She repeated, her voice cold but her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Vex raised an eyebrow, her tail wagging slowly.
I think that before you invite a girl to go out on an island, you should have a romantic evening with her first.
She said, her tone cold but her eyes sparkling with mischief.
That's the minimum rule of etiquette.
Carter froze. You're right, Carter said, an embarrassed smile appearing on his lips. I'm sorry, I was too hasty. I know a very special rooftop restaurant, Endless Moonlight is its name. From there we can see the whole view of Zidonia City at night, a place where there are flowers that only bloom at night. Vex was silent for a moment, as if considering.
Secret garden?
Vex asked, her voice a little curious.
Sounds interesting. I hope the Cosmic Empress and her puppets won't show up.
Vex said, her tone somewhat sarcastic. Why are you so worried? Carter teased, trying to break the tense atmosphere.
The puppets, if any, will only do their job of dancing, and our job is to shine.
And if they really annoy us, Carter teased, then they will know what darkness is, Vex, right? Vex smirked, a cold smile flashing across her lips.
That's obvious.
She replied, her voice as sharp as ice.
I don't like troublemakers. And I don't mind teaching them a lesson.
Carter breathed a sigh of relief. He felt like he had just passed a difficult test. Great. So we'll meet there at sunset?
Okay.
Vex said, then returned to her work. Her tail wagged slowly, seemingly showing anticipation. Carter smiled, he felt an indescribable joy rising in his heart. He knew that tonight would be a special night. As the sun began to set, the moonlight illuminated the path, leading them to a small courtyard, where Carter had prepared everything. Soft lantern light, flickering candles, a small table with a pure white tablecloth, and a bottle of fine wine. He also placed a few white orchids, Vex's favorite flower, on the table. When Vex arrived, she was surprised by this romantic scene.
Did you do all this?
she asked, her voice a little surprised. Yeah, Carter said, I wanted to create a special evening for you. Vex looked at him, her eyes sparkling with surprise, but then she smiled.
Thank you,
She said.
I really like it.
They sat down together, enjoying dinner and watching the starry night sky. Carter told Vex stories about the stars, about distant planets. Vex listened to him attentively. Sometimes she also asked a few questions, showing her interest. When the night was late, Carter stood up, walked over to Vex. He looked deeply into her eyes, his voice becoming warm. Vex, he said, I have something I want to say to you.
What is it?
Vex asked, her voice trembling slightly. Carter took a deep breath, trying to regain his composure. I think I've fallen in love with you, he said, his voice sincere and full of emotion. From the first time I met you, I was impressed by your strength and intelligence. And the more I interacted, the more I realized that you are not only a cold woman, but also a warm and kind person. Vex was silent for a long time, as if trying to sort out the mixed thoughts in her head. Then, she gently placed her hand on Carter's cheek, stroking his face. She began, her voice trembling slightly.
I also have that feeling.
When the words were spoken, the space around them seemed to freeze. The gentle moonlight covered the garden, the flickering candles creating a magical atmosphere. Carter looked deeply into Vex's eyes. Strands of dark thread suddenly appeared, wrapping around Carter, tightening him. He felt cold, a familiar feeling whenever Vex's darkness was present.
Don't worry.
Vex said, her voice trembling slightly, but her eyes sparkling with determination.
They're just welcoming you.
And then, a bubble of darkness enveloped them, separating them from the outside world. In that pitch-black space, there were only the two of them, Carter and Vex. That night, they shared memorable moments together. They confided, shared their dreams and aspirations, happy and sad memories. They exchanged kisses and warm hugs. The next morning, when the dawn began to break, they still felt the warmth of the other. They knew that they had found each other, found a true love, a love that could overcome all barriers. Suddenly, a giant robot came out of nowhere, landing with an earth-shattering crash right in the middle of the rooftop garden. The ground cracked, Vex's favorite white orchids were crushed, the romantic scene of the previous night turned into smoke.
Hello, lovers.
The robot's shrill voice echoed everywhere.
Don't worry about the damage I just caused, the Zidonian royal family will pay for it.
Carter and Vex stared at the robot, surprise and annoyance clearly showing on their faces.
I'm here to announce.
The robot continued.
Our princess has been crying for 2 moons. According to the ancient curse of Zidonia, if the princess cries for 5 full moons, untold disaster will befall. The king urgently summons you two to the Zidonian royal palace.
The giant gate of the Zidonian royal palace slowly opened, revealing a magnificent and majestic architecture, far beyond Carter's imagination. The royal entourage, with their splendid costumes and solemn demeanor, welcomed Carter and Vex. They were led through long corridors, large rooms, beautiful gardens, each place with its own beauty, showing the wealth and power of the Zidonian royal family. Along the way, Carter and Vex met servants, officials, and members of the royal family. They greeted politely, but their eyes showed curiosity and suspicion. Carter felt like he was lost in another world, a world of luxury, power, and mysteries. Finally, they were led to Princess Lyra's room. Soft light from crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. Lyra sat on a long chair, her expression worried and confused. Her multicolored eyes no longer sparkled like the previous meeting, but became sad and gloomy. Her strange and charming beauty also seemed to fade somewhat.
Carter, Vex.
She said, her voice trembling slightly.
Thank you for coming. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Tell us, Carter said, his voice gentle, we're here to help you. Lyra began to tell about the events that happened after that night. She described in detail how all the men on the planet suddenly shunned her, the strange rumors spreading everywhere, and the suspicious looks she received from everyone.
I don't understand why people are treating me like this.
She said, her voice choked.
I didn't do anything wrong.
We believe you.
Vex said.
And we will find out the truth.
Lyra looked at Vex, her eyes shining with a glimmer of hope.
Thank you both.
She said.
I'm looking forward to your help.
Carter and Vex exchanged glances. They knew that this was not just a simple case. There was some conspiracy going on, and they needed to find out the truth. Vex thought for a moment, her tail wagging gently.
We start by gathering information.
She said.
We need to find out everything we can about the current situation.
They decided to start by meeting with the officials in the royal family. Carter and Vex went to the office of Chief Justice Zorvan, who was considered to have the greatest influence in the court. We want to ask you a few questions about Princess Lyra, Carter said, his voice polite but firm. Chief Justice Zorvan looked at them for a moment, then sighed. All right, he said, but I don't have much time. Carter and Vex began to ask questions. They asked about the relationship between Lyra and Chief Justice Zorvan, about the rumors spreading, and about recent events related to Lyra. Chief Justice Zorvan answered hesitantly, trying to hide information. He said that the rumors about Lyra were unfounded, and he always supported the princess. But why are people shunning the princess? Carter asked. Chief Justice Zorvan shrugged. That's because they don't understand the princess. Lyra is a strong and independent woman. Perhaps that scares them. Vex didn't believe Chief Justice Zorvan's words. She felt that he was deliberately hiding something. Carter and Vex went to meet a younger official, who seemed dissatisfied with the rumors about Lyra.
I don't believe those rumors,
he said.
I know Lyra is a good person. And I don't understand why people are treating her like that.
He told Carter and Vex about secret conversations in the court, about the conspiracies and plots that he had heard. He said that there was a group of people trying to remove Lyra from the race for power. I don't know who's behind this, he said, but I know that a conspiracy is going on. After gathering information from the servants, Carter and Vex immersed themselves in the lives of the Zidonian people. They wanted to hear the rumors spreading, and learn about the people's views on Princess Lyra. They went to markets, bars, and other public places, to listen to people's gossip. They noticed that the rumors about Lyra were spreading more and more. One night, when Carter and Vex were walking on a deserted street, shadows from the alleys suddenly rose up, enveloping them. A group of assassins suddenly appeared, without a sound, without a warning. What are you doing here? One assassin growled, his voice hoarse and full of murderous intent. Get out of here before it's too late. The assassins rushed towards Carter and Vex. They moved like lightning, sharp weapons glittering in the faint moonlight. Carter and Vex quickly retreated, taking a defensive stance. Looks like we're in trouble again, Carter said, his voice a little worried. Vex didn't answer, she just focused on observing the assassins. Her golden eyes shone with a cold look, her tail wagging strongly, ready to fight. They were too many, overwhelming in number. Carter felt his heart pounding. He knew that this fight would not be easy. And then, a black bubble appeared in the sky, then two, then three, and then the bubbles of night covered the whole alley. The moonlight was swallowed, everything was immersed in a pitch-black color. From the darkness, mysterious figures appeared. They were the Nocturnes, with the ability to hide and control the darkness wonderfully. They appeared like ghosts, moving gently and quickly, surrounding the group of assassins. The Nocturnes, they moved like lightning, using the darkness to hide and attack their opponents. Hundreds of shadow snakes appeared, wrapping around the hands of those assassins, squeezing them tightly, causing their weapons to fall to the ground with a clang. Bubbles of darkness enveloped each one, swallowing them inside. Carter stood still. He couldn't see anything, but he could feel the terrible power of the Nocturnes. He felt a chill run down his spine, but at the same time felt safe knowing Vex had such reliable friends. Vex, are you okay? A Nocturne asked, his voice warm.
I'm fine.
Vex said.
Thank you all.
The Nocturne looked at Carter, then turned to Vex.
We're also investigating Chief Justice Zorvan,
he said.
We have a video of his conspiracy.
He handed Vex a small device, on which there was a film recording a secret discussion of Chief Justice Zorvan with a group of people. In the film, Chief Justice Zorvan was directing the spread of rumors, creating false evidence, and manipulating public opinion to discredit Lyra.
This is undeniable evidence.
The Nocturne said.
Chief Justice Zorvan is the one behind everything.
Vex looked at the film, her eyes sparkling with anger.
He will pay.
She said. The Nocturne stood silently for a moment, then one of them stepped forward. He looked at Vex, his eyes shining with mystery.
Remember where you were born, Vex.
Then, like a thin mist, they began to fade. The darkness around them became thicker, swallowing every image, every line. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared, leaving no trace. They disappeared as quickly as they appeared, as if they had never existed. And then, a rumbling sound came from afar. The warships of the Zidonian royal family rushed in, landing on the deserted street. The light from the ships illuminated the entire area, dispelling the remaining darkness.
We are the security forces of the Zidonian royal family.
A voice boomed from the loudspeaker on a warship, the sound powerful and full of authority.
Any actions deemed hostile to the Zidonian royal family will not be forgiven.
From the hovering warships, groups of soldiers with personal jet engines simultaneously launched, landing on the deserted street, forming a solid encirclement. They moved rhythmically, coordinating perfectly, like a perfectly programmed machine.
What happened here?
A royal commander asked, his voice full of suspicion. Vex stepped forward, her eyes cold and determined.
Nothing.
She replied, her voice decisive.
We have evidence of Chief Justice Zorvan's conspiracy.
Just then, a fleet of medical ships from the royal family appeared in the sky. The ships were designed, with soft curves and exquisite decorative details, creating an image that was both majestic and elegant. They hovered in the air, covering the area with soft light. The loudspeaker from the medical fleet boomed, Dr. Fungal's voice amplified, echoing everywhere.
We have spent hundreds of Lumina years to achieve peace and unity between races, an achievement built by the tireless efforts of diplomats, scientists, and people across the galaxy. Everything can be negotiated. For the common peace of the galaxy, please lay down your weapons.
The warship soared into the sky, heading towards the royal palace. From the window, Carter and Vex could see the city of Zidonia sparkling with lights, like a jewel in the vast universe. Upon arriving at the palace, they were led into a large courtroom, where the king, queen, senior officials, and Chief Justice Zorvan were waiting. The atmosphere in the courtroom was extremely solemn and tense. Carter stepped forward, he placed the small device containing the film on the table. This is evidence of Chief Justice Zorvan's conspiracy, he said, his voice echoing throughout the courtroom. The film was played, and everyone in the courtroom silently watched. The image of Chief Justice Zorvan directing the spread of rumors, creating false evidence, and manipulating public opinion to discredit Lyra appeared clearly. When the film ended, the courtroom was filled with silence. The Zidonian officials stared at Chief Justice Zorvan in astonishment, no one daring to speak.
Chief Justice Zorvan.
The king said, his voice ringing out with authority.
Do you have anything to say about this evidence?
Chief Justice Zorvan stood up, his face pale.
Your Majesty.
He said, his voice trembling.
I don't know anything about this.
Are you still denying it?
Lady Talia said, her voice full of anger.
The evidence is so clear.
Carter and Vex stepped forward, they presented the information and evidence they had collected during the investigation. They exposed Chief Justice Zorvan's shady actions, and proved that he was the one behind everything. After listening, the King of Zidonia looked at Chief Justice Zorvan, his eyes sparkling with disappointment.
Chief Justice Zorvan.
He said, his voice ringing out with authority.
You have betrayed my trust, betrayed Zidonia. You will be punished?
Chief Justice Zorvan was arrested and brought to trial. He was stripped of his position, brought to trial, and finally exiled from Zydonia. Princess Lyra was exonerated, she regained her honor and the trust of everyone. After the trial, Carter and Vex were gifted a vacation to a paradise island by the Zydonian royal family. The fine white sand stretched out, the crystal clear turquoise water, the tall coconut trees swaying in the wind. The bright golden sunlight shone down, creating a beautiful natural scene. Carter and Vex walked along the beach together, holding hands tightly, feeling the warmth of the other. They laughed and talked happily, sharing memorable memories during the past journey. Vex no longer kept her cold demeanor as before, but became more gentle and affectionate. She leaned her head on Carter's shoulder, watching the brilliant sunset on the sea. Carter hugged Vex, feeling the beating of both their hearts.
I never thought I would have such a wonderful trip like this.
Vex said, her voice trembling slightly. Me neither, Carter said, and I never thought I would find someone as special as you. They exchanged a passionate, sweet kiss, as if wanting to give all their feelings to the other. Suddenly, Dr. Fungal appeared. He was wearing a colorful beach outfit, holding a cocktail.
Hello, young couple. Enjoy your vacation.
Carter and Vex laughed. They didn't expect Dr. Fungal to appear here. Did you also get a gift of this trip? Carter asked. Dr. Fungal shrugged.
No, I treated myself. Anyway, I also need to rest after stressful days of research.
He took a sip of his cocktail.
By the way, I have some interesting information to share with you too.
What information?
Vex asked. Dr. Fungal approached Carter and Vex, lowering his voice to whisper.
Actually, I am a senior inspector of the Galactic Ministry of Love, sent to evaluate the activities of the Intergalactic Love Untangling Center.
Carter and Vex stared at each other, not understanding what was going on.
I need to observe objectively.
Dr. Fungal smiled.
The Intergalactic Love Untangling Center has passed the test. You guys did very well. In fact, I will propose expanding your center. That's right.
Dr. Fungal said.
And I also have a special gift for you too.
He gave Carter and Vex 2 sparkling bracelets. Looking closely, Carter and Vex realized that inside the bracelets, there were miniature galaxy streams moving magically.
Every couple will need to have matching items, right?
Dr. Fungal smirked. He looked at Carter and Vex, his eyes sparkling with understanding.
Love has myriad forms, there is no single definition. It can be between humans and aliens, between humans and machines, or even between clones. As long as it is based on consent, respect, and brings happiness, there is nothing wrong with it. The important thing is that you feel love, feel happiness, and you still want the other person to love you.
And suddenly, a Zydonian messenger robot appeared, rushing down from somewhere at a terrifying speed, landing with an earth-shattering crash right next to the beach, causing the ground to shake violently.
Please forgive this tremor.
The robot's shrill voice rang out.
The Zydonian royal family will pay for all damages. If you feel startled, please contact our information portal to receive 1 Lumina gold coin in compensation. Princess Lyra has returned to happiness. The Zydonian royal family has decided to sponsor the Intergalactic Love Untangling Center, a recognition of your great contributions. Also, do you have any other requests?
The messenger robot stood silently, awaiting an answer from Carter and Vex. Its eyes, even though it was a machine, seemed to express sincerity and a desire to fulfill their every request. Carter gently took Vex's hand, a mischievous smile on his lips. He winked at Vex, then looked at the messenger robot. I greatly appreciate the royal family's sponsorship. It is an extremely valuable support for the Intergalactic Love Untangling Center. Perhaps we'd like to have more cases involving tangled love.
That's right, we want to have even more cases.
Dr. Fungal stepped forward, stroking his mushroom beard.
I like to compare love to a rare stargrass plant. The more it goes through storms, the more strongly it sprouts and grows. And if the storm is too big, or there is a problem in the development process, we can divorce. The important thing is that we have loved, we have tried, and we have learned valuable lessons. That is an inevitable law of the universe.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals they take us higher. The night's young, and it's just begun as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. Now the morning is the afternoon. We lay awake in bed. The laughs so loud as the hours pass. We're gonna do